True Colors today. So how many of you, like as he just said, you already know what True Colors
Hey,
is?
you can change.
So what I want you to do is I want you to tell me what it is, or give me your best 1-minute summary of what True Colors is. Or 30 elevator speech. Y'all ever heard of the elevator speech yet?
Okay, well, it's
Okay, wait, let me explain this. Elevator speech is, I love to do that. I love to ask questions and then not let you answer. It's one of the things that Green does. So, an elevator speech is, you know how when you push a button and then there's that awkward 10 seconds to the next floor that feels like it's about 30 or 40 years? So, the amount of time you have from one floor to the next floor, maybe that's the only time you ever see that person. What would happen if you were in the elevator with a famous person? Or the person that you just, wanted to get in there, be hired by their company, or, the coach from the school that just came to scout you, or whatever, okay? What would you spend that 10, 15 seconds doing? It's called your elevator speech. It's what you'll use when you go to the job fairs, it's what you'll use when you go to interviews, it's what you'll use if you do sales, okay? Ask your dad, but he knows what an elevator speech is, okay? So I'm gonna ask you, what's your best elevator speech on what you remember or know about what True Colors is?
Okay, True Colors is like a test on your personality to see what you like and what you don't like and kind of how you interact with people.
Okay.
And like what things represent the way you interact with people. It's like, or just like you're very like outgoing and like you're hyper sometimes.
Okay, all right, so I heard a couple words I want to put on. Personality. I've had a few personality tests myself that came back negative. I don't think that's really true. I think that I have one, at least. It might not be a good one, but I have one. And a lot of times the personality test is more like where you think, the sort of feelings, like happy, sad, that person is fun to be around, those kind, and that's kind of true. But this is more of what we call it is, it's more of a communication tool, because each of you, through your own unique experiences in your life and how you were born and how you were made and all those things, create, in a sense, a set of lenses and a set of earbuds in your ear that when Izzy says something, if she said the same thing to all of you, right, you might walk away and have heard something totally different. Even though you're in the same room, you heard the same words, but because of where you come from, how you process information, how you watched her body language, maybe you picked up on something somebody else didn't, okay? Maybe how you feel about the person who's speaking gets in the way of what they're saying, okay? So there's a lot of things that go into communication, right? So what this does, what True Colors does, is it gives you an opportunity to kind of reflect on and learn more about yourself and be more self-aware. And then at the same time, when you move forward, learning how that self-awareness, you learn about others, and then in that process, you learn how to move forward as a group. Okay, so it works well in teams, obviously, athletic teams. It works well in the job arena, people who work together every day. We do it with our coaches, we do it with our management staff. We do it when we do it also with the teams. Coaches are in the room because it's important to know where they're coming from, right? Because they may say the same thing again to the team, and then you walk out on the field and someone does something, you're like, what are you doing? The coach just said X, Y, Z, and they're like, well, I heard ABC. Like, well, we were all just right there in the same huddle. How did you not, But there's a reason why they didn't hear exactly the same thing, or be able to process it and live it out in the way that maybe you are, okay? And maybe you're the one that's wrong. If you're the one that counts, says to them, hey, you didn't do it right, and then you find out, oh, well, I misunderstood. Okay? So we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to get through a process of self-evaluation. There's a lot of tests that you can do on the computer where you answer a bunch of questions. How many of you have done a Myers-Briggs, MBTI? Yeah. ENFP.
Yes.
All the 4 letters. I'm an ESPN. So, thank you very much. I'll be here all week. So, if there really isn't an ESPN, but anyway, the reason why it's hard and difficult is because, what you just experienced was the voices in the room, because there's a lot of information, okay? And it's a lot to process, and it's not that casual conversation you can have. Okay, True Colors is based on Myers-Briggs. There's a lot of history between the two. It's very similar, but it's more relatable and more conversational, and that's why we like to use it, because it's easier. So you might even have a color, or your top 2 colors stuck on your locker, and that kind of gives an idea. It's not a box that people put you in. It's not a judgment or a stereotype. It's just a help in framing certain conversations of, okay, this person processes information this way, so this is probably how I need to best talk to them. Okay? All right, so First thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you a clip. And a lot of times when we're talking about conversation, when we're talking about people, when we're talking about personalities and things, you sometimes have to show kind of the extremes of things to get and understand. So it doesn't mean that if I ever say, okay, that's a typical orange response, or that's what oranges would do, okay? If you're an orange, if you find out, hey, I think I'm an orange, but you don't do that, then what you say is, I don't think I do that. And then we talk about why. Because you might be an orange blue instead of an orange green. Okay, and those people would react differently to certain things. So it might be your second color that adds a reason why you do something different. Okay? The other option is, each of you have had different experiences growing up. Each of you have been in situations that no one else can relate to, because no one is you. Okay? So even though you might have the same color spectrum in the same order as somebody else, that doesn't mean you're exactly the same, right? Okay? No twins in here? Okay. All right, so, well, two Izzy's, but, right, unrelated. Yeah, we're in the same, I mean, come on. So,
Actually, we didn't even plan that.
and then the other part is that when we're trying to figure these things out, there's of course gender differences, there's generational differences, like older people, you know, like, so I have to really try to understand. They weren't even born when I graduated college, so I
There's
have to.
generation differences in this staff.
Yes, there are. There are generation differences, and what's weird and unique is that the generational differences are getting bigger because they're going so fast. It's amazing to me that just the generation between me and my daughter, who's 13, are so vastly different. Right? And it's one generation difference. So that's a whole other topic to talk about. But so as we're going through this and as we're looking at things, please try. I'm apologizing a little bit in advance that if anything, I hope it's not offensive or putting anyone down. It's not meant to find out who the blues are and we pick them out of the room. Okay, we're not doing that. Okay, there's not a bad color. They're all equally the same.
Equally bad.
Equally good. Equally good or bad. Right? You could be either. So if you disagree with me, that's a good thing. Okay? That means that you're processing the information I'm giving you, and I want you to self-advocate. You know what that means? Let's say something, right? Step up and say, hey, right? So that's one of the part of leadership, right? So communication, if you want to be a good leader, you got to know to communicate. And if you're going to have influence, which is another part of leadership, then you need to be able to put your thoughts, put your emotions, things into words so that you can communicate that to others. Okay? So even though I'm the person up here who in context is, quote, the authority and the person teaching you about something, I always learn something when I'm doing it as well. So feel free to challenge, question, et cetera, as we go through. Okay? So we're going to start with this first little clip, and kind of sets up what kind of conflict.
One of the things I love about the NFL, they have this thing called the challenge flag. You don't know what that is. Each coach gets a red flag. If they think the ref makes a bad call, they throw this red flag. The ref has to look at this video replay thing on the field, see if he was wrong, and change the call. I think that's a brilliant idea. I want that for marriage. Wouldn't that be awesome, man? Get an argument, throw the red flag, ref comes out of the pantry.
All right, after further review, we had a personal foul of the male. He was not listening to the female story at all. And there was an eye roll involved. Wait, but after even further review, we got unsportsmanlike conduct on the female. She's told the same story 4 times this week. We got offsetting penalties, repeat conversation.
How many of you have ever wanted to start over? A do-over, right? You get halfway into that conversation, you're realizing it's going south quickly, and you think, if I could call the timeout like, what's the Boy Meets World, or is the old school show Saved by the Bell? Where they call the timeout, and then everybody in the scene freezes except the one person, and they move around. Okay, that's what we wish we could do, right? We wish we had that start over. Well, what True Colors allows you to do is hopefully have that start over before you even start the conversation in the first place, because you prep it a little bit better. You do some things to help understand where you're coming from, so you know, I'm getting ready to go talk to so-and-so about something that could be an explosive conversation. So how is it with this person, because I know who they are and I know who I am, how am I going to frame this? How am I going to package this so that it doesn't explode, right? Because dynamite doesn't explode unless you do what? Light it, right? Now, you don't want to just play catch with it. you know, because that could cause some issues, but, right? A conversation doesn't have to explode, right? You don't have to go into it going, well, this is gonna be a tough one. I know this one's gonna get bad. Well, let's talk about how we could change those things maybe, and how we're doing things so that it doesn't happen, okay? All right, so we're gonna do the card sort first. Okay, so what you do is put your 4 cards, now you can open them, but don't look at the back. Okay, so pictures up only. Pictures up only. Okay, and what I want you to do is just based on just the pictures, going from left to right, just like we read in English, left to right, you're gonna rank them most like you on the left to the least like you on the right. I got it? Most like you on the left,
Yes.
down to the least like you on the right. So if you were giving them a score, it would be 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 being most like you, 1 being least like you. And just based on the pictures, for now.
Try to ignore the scary moms.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so a couple things about that. First, I've always been dared to do this presentation in line face, and that's never gonna happen. For a few reasons. Because mirrors were invented, and I didn't know what I would look like. And then the second thing is that the reason why they're there is because it's supposed to delineate and take away from gender, race, et cetera, that these cards are universal. Okay, that's what it's supposed to represent. So, if we
Don't
can,
let them creep you out.
yeah, if we can get past the,
Too
you
late.
know, the clown thing.
Try to stay focused on like your cards. Try not to like cheat off of your neighbors. No right or wrong. Yeah. Good job, Izzy. Way to know yourself.
So this brings up 2 things. All right, so everybody look up real quick, just take a break for a second. Okay, we'll stress break, everybody. Okay, so 2 things. One is, this is your opportunity, and this might be one of your first opportunities as you transition into college, to be who you are. Okay, you're not going to have to act the way that you've been told you are. You're not going to be set up for failure because people already assume how you're going to behave. You're not around the same people that you've been around pretty much the majority of your life if you haven't moved around very much. So how I really want you to answer these is how you really feel about yourself, not what you think the right answer is that I'm looking for, not what you think you've been told by your parents necessarily, not that they aren't valuable people, they are, but this is your time, your opportunity as you're reading, you're looking at this stuff. I really want you to focus and process through, you know, how do I really feel about myself? Without the context of in relation to somebody else. How do I really feel? How do I really think? Okay? It's not a performance or a right answer kind of thing. All right, am I good so far? Okay, we'll go ahead and go at this point, and then this is a process, so things can change. Okay, and I know some of you, if you're gold, okay, it being a process is difficult, that it might change, because once you get a plan, you want to stick to that plan, okay? And you want to make sure that this is, you know, what you're going to do for the rest of the time, and it's hard for you to change your mind, okay? Anybody have a high green yet? Anybody green? Close to second? Okay, so green, you know, this is a high processing area, so you probably, you know, you're still thinking, even though your cards are in order, you're probably really still thinking about it. Okay, it's just, you're really trying to see the ins and outs, and, you know, okay, top, you know, both, okay, right? And it's really hard, if I were to ask who wants to volunteer to start talking about their cards, the green would be the last one to volunteer to talk, because they haven't formulated their whole speech yet. Okay, so they're not ready to talk about it yet. They're still processing on the inside. Okay, right, that's why orange is first. Okay, so